We are back a week later to break down yet another episode of Jujutsu Kaisen. And obviously, waiting for an episode of Jujutsu Kaisen to come out is quite literally like waiting for Christmas, but every week. Now, obviously, a little disclaimer, this is a weaker episode than the previous episode. However, this is also a lower priority episode in comparison. That doesn't mean it's bad, however. It's just not an episode where they're going to put all their heavy hitters on. However, don't worry, if the staff leaks are true, then next week is going to be some really big stuff, especially considering what happens in the episode for next week. However, we'll waste no time in breaking down the visuals for the episode for this week, so make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and let's actually get into it. Now, unlike last week where the episode director was Shotako Suzono, the episode director and storyboarder for this episode is Yosuke Takuda, who's done some pretty good work. He's directed episode 5 of Jujutsu Kaisen, as well as the 18th episode of Jujutsu Kaisen, which is one of my favorites visually, and directed episode 5 of Chainsaw Man, which episode 5 of Chainsaw Man was also a very good looking episode. Now, obviously this episode wasn't as creative as Shotako Suzono's episode, but very little people in the industry can be as creative as Shotako Suzono anyways. However, still in this episode, some of the storyboards were still pretty creative. I did like the scene where Geto is making himself tea. It reminded me of Aki making himself coffee in Chainsaw Man. However, there's a lot of these shots where not really much is actually happening in the scene. There's not as much character acting that was present in the last episode, which does make sense. Not only is this a lower priority episode, Jujutsu Kaisen is also still on a ridiculously tight schedule, and it's supposed to air for 2 course straight, so it can't be a all Sakuga show like something like Mob Psycho or Chainsaw Man. So corners are definitely going to have to be cut, and we can clearly see that with this episode. But like I said, lower priority doesn't mean bad. We still get some of that really funny chibi animation that I liked from the first episode. We also get some anime original scenes with Toji Fushiguro in this scene, and a relatively strong drawing in this scene. Also, the art direction has been pretty good, and Hayato Kurosaki had this really nice cut. I absolutely love the water effects here. The first really notable cut in this episode comes from Kaito Tomioka. Starting out with some nice smears, we do see some really beautiful curse energy effects. I adore how they kept the black outlines from the first season. I mean, it's one of the cooler looking things from the first season. Geto's hand is followed up with some really nice smears, and the curse spirit looks really nice. It's really nicely detailed. However, I don't really like the motion blur that much. And like I said, the storyboards still have some really good creativity, and we see that here. The old man, still animated by Kaito Tomioka, has a really good close-up that zooms into his glasses. That reflection transitions to Geto, that transitions to this dog. Honestly, just really creative, and I also love how they changed the lighting in this scene. As I said in my previous Jujutsu Kaisen video, the compositing did take a dramatic step up in season 2. I do understand how some people might not like this scene where Geto actually beats this guy. The animation isn't bad, but I think a lot of people have a problem with the storyboarding and just how oddly constructed it is. However, in my personal opinion, I do think it's fine. I don't like the dimming as much, but it's probably not the studio's fault anyways. This next scene is just full of cartoonishly drawn and chibi characters, still pretty damn goofy. Now, if there's any scene that was pretty oddly constructed in terms of storyboards, it would definitely be this scene here. Again, the animation and perspectives are very, very good. But the fight doesn't really flow here, and I'll explain. She takes the broom and pretty much puts it around this guy's arm, as you can see here. Again, from another perspective, you can clearly see the broom is on the outside of his arm. And while said broom is around his arm, the camera does a really big spin that doesn't relay anything to the audience. This spin doesn't tell me anything happened. And even when you slow down the spin, you can still see the broom is on the outside of the arm. And then in the next scene, when it stops spinning, the broom is in his balls. That's why it feels a little weird. The scene doesn't really make sense. The animation is still good though. Daniel Kim did this next section, and it was probably my favorite section in the entire episode. We not only get some really good looking morphing animation, but I love the sense of force you get due to the smears of this guy getting pulled off the building. This scene was definitely really well crafted, especially a lot of the perspectives we get. I especially loved this shot. I love the way Gojo's hair moves and flows in this scene. I love the background animation in this cut, but this guy kinda drawn weird. Next up, it was really creative on how they tried to portray Gojo explaining his technique. This is creative, how we can see all the examples he's talking about on his glasses. And the final noteworthy scene is Gojo using blue for the last time. The warp perspective is absolutely gorgeous, and the fact that they can depict motion by the shifting background is also amazing. Gosh, they really tried to make it look as gorgeous as possible. The high quantity of glass is actually impressive as well. All the individual things in this room seem to be drawn in 2D, which is especially impressive. And that's pretty much it for this episode visually. Overall, it was obviously a good looking episode, but definitely still weaker than the last one. But once again, it is a lower priority episode. However, there is going to be a lot of these kind of episodes where there's going to be a lot of really awkward scenes. The schedule is obviously not that good for JJK Season 2, and it seems like they're really trying to compensate with just a ridiculous quantity of top tier animators. So it's going to be interesting seeing how they handle these episodes later on in the season. The next 2 episodes though are higher priority episodes, with rumored top tier staff members that are going to be on them, so those episodes are going to be big and we are going to cover them. So if you'd like to see that, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe and ring that notification bell and get caught up whenever I post. And that's all from me today. I'm Debunked by Aaron, and I'm signing out.